opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome into a brand new week of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends over Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town, top right-hand corner of the screen. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day, and we always thank them for their wonderful sponsorship of not just Running Point, but everything that we do here at YSN. We would not be able to do all the things that we do, live broadcasts, all the shows we have, the player profiles, the coaches' corners, all the wonderful things that we do that I know our fans love and enjoy and get entertained by. We would not be able to do those without great sponsors like our good friends that sponsor Running Point, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. So make sure if you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, you check out Greenwood, because I guarantee you no one's going to take better care of you than them. And you'll hear from them in our commercial break a little bit later on today as well, with more information on how you can get involved with Greenwood Chevrolet if you're in the market. This is going to be a great show. Kick off the week with a fun one. We have a lot to recap, because remember, we haven't been on the show since Thursday, so we've had a couple of days to digest. The NABF sophomore 16U Division World Series is done at Bobseen Park. They have crowned the champion. Going to talk about that. Austin Town Little League has started their regional tournament run. Going to talk a little bit about that as well and see what happened in their first game against Wisconsin to open up that Central Regional Tournament. Remember last year, just for context, Austin Town lost their first game of the tournament in the Central Region. Won 6 games in a row to win that, to go to the Little League World Series. So they know what it takes to win down there, and they're definitely hoping that this year they don't have to come out of the loser's bracket. We'll talk about that game coming forward too. Let's start with the NABF, though. A lot of baseball went down over the weekend from Thursday to yesterday. You can find all the recaps of the NABF games that involve the YSN Class B teams on YSNLive.com for sure. But last night, it culminated in 2 of our Class B teams playing each other for the Class B semifinals with the chance to get into the championship. And shocker, it was Creekside, it was Astro Falcons, the rivalry that has been there for a long time in Class B baseball. Rears its head again here in the NABF World Series, and it's the Astro Falcons that had the edge 2-1. The final score. They're a pitcher's duel, and really Creekside and Astro Falcons had both been pitching really well the whole tournament. So no shocker that when they got together in the semifinals, that it was going to be one of those, every little thing matters a little bit more. And if Scotty's asked me before what my preference is for pitchers duels versus high scoring affairs, and what I always tell him, and this is the truth for me, I know a lot of people like the big high-scoring offensive games, and offense is exciting for sure, and there's definitely a time when you can get entertained by that. But for me, those pitchers duels where everything is just magnified a little bit more, like every little mistake you make gets blown up because one run feels like so much more than one run. Those are the games that just get me on the edge of my seat and make me want to keep watching. Because when you have those high scoring offensive affairs, you make an error or strike out, whatever it may be, you make a mistake. You always feel like, well, but our offense is going so well, we're going to be able to come back from that. I mean, we've scored 7 runs already. Who says we can't go and score 8, 9, or 10? So those mistakes don't get as under a microscope in those high scoring affairs. But when you're 2-1, like, man, 2 runs, that's what we need. And you make that little mistake that allows that 1 run to score in a 1-1 ball game to give your opponent the lead 2-1, and even fighting all day just to get that 1 run. Man, that's got to be so disheartening and so deflating to have to go through that. So, my opinion, pitchers duels are always going to be fun, especially if they're really clean pitchers duels with clean defense, good defense. You need good defense there. So that one between the Falcons and Creekside, definitely a pitchers duel, 2-1. Astro Falcons got the win. So then we go to the championship. Astro Falcons got to play the Diamond Boys, which was also a team that had a very good run in the NABF World Series. Wasn't as much of a struggle on offense for the Astro Falcons. They were able to score 6 in a 6-2 win to claim the NABF championship over the Diamond Boys. You look at the offense for the Astro Falcons, and someone who we've been saying a lot on this program during our Class B baseball coverage, Taco Veraco, had a huge day at the plate. He had a double, a home run, and 3 runs batted in. He also scored a run as well. So 3 RBIs. That's 3 out of the 6 runs, all responsible from Taco Veraco. And then he scored 1 too. So he's really responsible for 4 out of the 6 runs that the Astro Falcons were able to score. Gavin Hiscox had a good day at the plate for the Falcons in the championship. He had an RBI with a couple of hits. Bryson Zerwas also had a big day at the plate for the Falcons. He had a double. He scored a run. Logan Patelis had a couple of hits with a couple of runs as well. So good offensive day from the Falcons and another good pitching performance. This time on the mound for the championship, it was Matthew Myers. He went 5 innings. He allowed just 7 hits, but no runs, and he struck out 3. The Diamond Boys offense was led by Michael, I want to make sure I'm saying this name right, Grobelny, I think it's Grobelny, and Vincent Carrero, who both had 2 hits on the day for the Diamond Boys, but just not enough offense. When you're giving up 6, you just got to find a way to score more than 2, obviously. That's the name of the game. You got to score more runs than the other guy, right? So a great day for the Falcons. They get the NABF championship, and no shocker. They kind of own the NABF world, I guess I should say, this year. The 14U Falcons won as well. 16U makes it a clean sweep. And what a great weekend of baseball it was to cover. I want to thank Matt Marr for covering all the games he did down there at Bob Seam Park. Our NABF coverage would not be nearly as good as it is without Matt Marr going down there, giving up his days, doing double headers every day, and making sure that the NABF games get covered for the kids that we've been covering all summer. So he did a great job down there, and want to commend him for his efforts. He's been on Running Point a couple of times. I'm sure you'll see him again on Running Point as the high school season starts to heat up in a couple of weeks. So once again, thank you so much to Matt Marr for all his time that he put into the NABF coverage. Let's venture from baseball to softball. Let's talk about the Austintown Little League Team 12U division getting their regional tournament underway last night, under the lights in Whitestown, Indiana. Austintown gets the win this time, so no more coming out of the losers bracket from the first day for Austintown. They knew how that felt yet last year. Although they survived it, they didn't want to do it again. So they beat Wisconsin by the final score of 3-0. Was a pretty good pitcher's duel. And from what I was gathering from the broadcast, and I'm trusting the ESPN crew for doing their research, these might be the best 2 pitchers in the whole Central Tournament. Wisconsin had a really good one by the name of Addison Rossetti, who really pitched well, gave up those 3 runs. but she only get 8 hits, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts. The big hurt for her was that she walked 5. You give free base runners, you're going to be put in bad situations. For Mila Hamley in the circle, wow, was it just absolute domination on her side. She had, let's see, I'm trying to. 18 strikeouts, right? No, 17 strikeouts. I'm sorry. 17 out of the 18 batters that she got out were via the strikeout. She gave up no hits and a no hitter in her first game, and no walks either over 6 innings. And 1 walk, I should say. 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch, and no hits. The hit was, you could interpret it 2 different ways. I think the ESPN crew gave Wisconsin a hit on their stats. Austintown didn't in their book. It was a bunt that went down the first baseline. The infield was playing in, and the bunt went under the first baseman's glove that was charging in on the field to make it. So then it got past her, went to second base, but because of that, no one was covering first, and it was kind of a bunt single, but also could have ruled in an error. It just depends on how you interpret the play. It did go off the glove. It went right under the glove, so you could see that it made contact. Usually the rule of thumb there is if you make contact with the ball, you're going to be charged with an error in that situation. So, but ESPN didn't see it that way. So if you watch the broadcast there, they gave Wisconsin a hit, but Wisconsin's book that they turned in gave them a no hitter. And you know what? We're not gonna take away that from Mila Hamley, a no hitter for sure. The Austintown offense, it was Ava Fisher that had the biggest day, knocking in a couple of runs for Austintown. Annabelle Mikesell also had a couple of hits for the Austintown team. This offense left a lot of opportunities on the board, though, so that's probably something that Matt Hamley's going to look at and be like, hey, guys, 3 runs was great, and with Mila Hamley, 3 runs is going to win 8 out of 10 games, 9 out of 10 games, but if we score 5 or 6, like, there's no way someone's going to be able to knock Mila Hamley around that much, so we got to be able to take every opportunity we can and score. And that is the truth. I mean, when you're watching the way Mila Hamley's pitching this year, and I said this after we broadcasted her games in the district and the state, but when you get to see it from the ESPN broadcast angle behind, in center field, you can really get a good look at that movement and the way the velocity is really hitting. I think she's a lot better than last year, and that's saying something because she was pretty dang good last year when they made their run to the World Series, but I'm seeing more late movement from her ball. I think there's a tick more velocity there too, and she's got a little bit more command of the inside corner of the plate. Last year, she could go both sides, but she had a lot more command when she went outside. And, you watched that game last night against Wisconsin, how many strikeouts she was able to get over the hands inside corner of the plate. That's really just smart softball. If you can pinpoint that location and go right over the hands on the high inside corner for a strike, by the way. I mean, most of those pitches that they swung and missed at were still getting in that top inside corner of the strike zone. So that's really impressive. And like I said, the velocity is up like a little bit, probably about a mile or 2 per hour than last year. The ESPN, I wish they had the radar gun on her so we could see exactly what she was throwing. I would temper to guess like 60 to 62, maybe consistently. Maybe peaking out at like 63 if she gets the good pitch that the mechanics are like perfect. Maybe she can get a couple in there that are 63. But I would say consistently in that 61 median, within the off speed to match that, and the movement, late movement, like I said, is the big reason why she's, in my opinion, even more improved because it's breaking a lot later. Last year it broke, but it broke. The later your pitch can spin and break, the more hard it's going to be to hit because the more hard it's going to be to read where to swing, obviously. Oh, I said the word. For those of you that are just tuning in to Running Point, all summer we have been catching myself saying obviously, and I'm not counting that because that's explaining what we're doing, but I noticed a couple months ago in the start of our summer kind of Running Point that I say that word a ton, and I was like, oh. We had the count for about 3 weeks, but then when I took the the July 4th holiday break, I think we lost the tally. So we don't have the exact number, but man, I still get, oh man, I'm in the mode of catching myself every time I say it. So if you're watching, this is what kind of you come to this is what you get when you come to an Anthony Hartwick podcast, right? You get my scatterbrained way of thinking. Back to Austintown. They will have today off because they're in the winner's bracket. They will play tomorrow. I want to look at the bracket real quick to make sure I know where they're going to be playing. I mean, who they're going to be playing. Let me check the bracket real quick. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up. Bear with Anthony. Let's pull up the bracket real quick. Okay. So Austintown won. So that's Ohio. They will play the winner of Iowa and I don't know who won Michigan, Indiana yesterday. But they play the winner of a winner's bracket game that's happening today. Right now, actually. It started at 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus. So if you want to go watch that, scout the opponent for Austintown, you can feel free. Austintown gets the bye today because they were the only matchup, I should say one of two matchups, that were kind of placed already into this quarterfinal round. With 10 teams, you had 4 teams that had to play into the quarterfinals yesterday. I don't know how they got that luck to have to play there. So yesterday's games were pretty much Missouri, North Dakota, Michigan, Indiana, and then Ohio, Wisconsin. But because Ohio, Wisconsin was already in that quarterfinal, which is also being played today, they get the day off for tomorrow. So they'll play the winner of Iowa versus the winner of Michigan, Indiana, which I did not see yesterday. But that game's going on right now on ESPN Plus if you're interested to watch Austintown's opponent. Austintown's next game will be tomorrow night at 7. ESPN Plus will have your coverage there. So make sure to tune in and see if Austintown can go back-to-back in the regionals. They are now 3 wins away from doing that. They're in the semifinals if they get the win. Oops, wrong button. Oops. If they get the win tomorrow, they shoot into these are the quarterfinals. They shoot into the semifinals of, I guess you could say, when the ESPN broadcast said semifinals, that was the semifinals of the winner's bracket. So you go into the finals of the winner's bracket, and then you'd have to win the championship series against winners of the losers bracket. So they're 3 wins away from a regional championship. 3. And one of those will hopefully be tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have the latest segment of Living the Dream, and I'll introduce it when we come back from the commercial break and who we're going to have on the show today as a part of that summer series that we've been having all summer long. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
What can you do on over 5,000 acres? At Mill Creek Metro Parks, you can discover unique habitats and wildlife, create memorable family moments, experience history, heritage, and park programs, explore scenic landscapes, take time to relax and be well, connect with nature and each other. Come see what's new at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Plan your trip now at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means taking care of our local customers.
And it's just a great feeling to put them in a vehicle and get them all excited about a new vehicle.
At the end of the day, our goal is to be someone our customers can count on.
And every day I'll go the extra mile for the community so they can trust us.
To do anything that would convenience the customer or make them feel more at home.
Realizing, number one, that we're here for them and that we're not going to go away.
That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends that you just heard from in that commercial break. Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, top right-hand corner of the screen. You can find their logo. They go the extra mile for you so you don't have to. And we always thank them for their time and their sponsorship of not just this show, but everything that we do at YSN. We couldn't do it without wonderful sponsors like them. So on the second half of today's show, we have another segment of Living the Dream, the softball segment that we've been playing throughout the last couple weeks of the summer. And it is basically, if you're just joining us, the idea of this segment that we've been having is to help the players that we have in our YSN family, right? Which we have a ton of softball talent in this area. And a lot of them are trying either to get ready for a college they already committed to, or they're trying to get into college. They're trying to get there and complete their college softball dreams. And one of the great ways to get advice and to kind of do the right thing when you're into that experience is to learn from the people that have already been there, that have been to where you dream to be. And that's what we've been doing all summer. We've been talking to players in the softball world that have already been on the biggest stages and that have gotten commitments to the big teams and have done the college softball and can tell you, like, hey, this is what it's like. This is what you're going to go through. These are the things you have to remember, the things you know. This is how you achieve your dreams. I can tell you how to achieve your dreams because I've lived them, and that's why we called it Living the Dream. And today we have someone that has played on arguably the biggest stage you could ever play softball on. It's been dreams for softball players for a long time, and there was a big gap where it just wasn't available from 2008 until 2020. Softball was not in the Olympics. It came back in the 2020 Tokyo Games, and our next guest was a part of the silver medalist team that played in Tokyo for Team USA, and really put the dream back on the map to play in the Olympics, to be an Olympic softball player. Remember, the USA dominated softball for a long time until 2008 when it was taken off of the Olympic schedule for the next Olympics. But the USA was dominating. The world has caught up a little bit, especially Japan, who just got the win in the gold medal game in the WSBC World Cup last night, or was it over the weekend? I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday night, but it's right there. That's always been the rivalry. It was the rivalry in 2020 where Japan, the host team, took the gold medal, but a silver medal in Olympics, you can't beat it. You can't beat getting a medal in the Olympics, right? So we have the pleasure and the honor to talking to someone that not only played in the biggest stages in the college world with playing in the World Series, playing for a championship, trying to get her program that championship trophy, but also went on to have a very awesome pro career, which included Athletes Unlimited in the pro league, but also was on Team USA, played in the WPF with the USSSA Pride, pretty much played every style of pro softball you can play. And I was so honored that she was able to give us her time and talk about not just her journey and what she did on the softball field, but also her faith and how that got her through her softball career and what she's doing now to kind of instill that mix of great softball with faith into the next generation. So without further ado, this is going to be Washington softball alum, silver medalist with Team USA, Ali Aguilar. I am so honored to play this interview for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I had the enjoyment of conducting it. Anthony Herbig here with another Living the Dream segment. We are joined by a very special guest, Ali Aguilar. You might know her from Washington University. You might know her from Team USA, but there's a lot of places that you could have seen her throughout her softball career. Ali, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You've been to a lot of places, you've done a lot of things, but I want to start with kind of the beginnings and how you got involved with softball and when some of your early memories with the sport are and falling in love with the game as a kid.
Yeah, so softball, I tried a few sports growing up. Softball was one of the ones that I stuck with pretty early on. To be honest, when I first started playing, I didn't even know anything about the sport. And I just went out there and tried it. And I think I just remember joining travel ball when I was 9 years old. And I think just the team atmosphere and how, challenging the sport was and things like that really drew me into it. I just loved like the cliche, like bottom of the seventh, 3-2 count, like 2 outs. Like I just remember like wanting that moment, and there was just nothing like it. So that's kind of where it all started for me.
Every career, there seems to be a point when it goes from just loving the sport to it becoming something you want to work really hard at and something that you want to take yourself to the next level. And obviously you did. When did that happen? When did the shift come from just a sport that you were loving and having fun with to a sport that you really wanted to put a lot of time into, work hard at, and try to get yourself into the next level with?
So I would say I remember specifically 8th grade because I went from, you're sort of like in between travel ball team, like you're better than rec, but not as good as like completely travel. I was like on one of those. And then I transferred to a new team that was way more competitive. And I started realizing like, wow, okay, these girls are really good. I'm challenged by these girls. They're older than me. And that's when I was like, okay, like this is going to take a lot of hard work. This is going to take a lot of dedication. And I was always pretty motivated. And so I think it was around 8th grade. Yeah, that's when I started kind of putting in the extra work, doing things outside of just like our team practices, and then also thinking about college. I had dreamed about playing in college, and I dreamed about the Olympics, but I really started to make it a goal and work towards it in 8th grade.
You know, your recruiting process probably different than most of the kids that we're following now, because back in your recruiting process, you could recruit so early, and you could have been recruited and committed in 8th grade if you wanted to. What was your specific recruiting process like, and how did Washington become the place where you wanted to go?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I think I was starting in 8th grade. I think I even remember that was the first emails I started sending, and looking back now, that's insane. Middle school. But yeah, there was like a sense of urgency with it, which is crazy. But that was when I first started, emailing colleges, but nothing really came out of it besides some local colleges showing interest to where I lived. I'm from the Sacramento area. And so it was very slow at first. And then freshman year, girls started committing, and I wasn't committed yet, but I was going to camps and college camps, and then, the exposure camps and tournaments. And that's when I started getting little hints here and there, but still just kind of young. And it really ramped up like as my sophomore year started. And I started going on visits, and I only took a couple visits. I probably had a handful of colleges interested. And it was soon after that I committed to Washington the fall of my sophomore year. And I would say still, like looking back, that is pretty early. And it was early on in colleges being interested in me. Like if I had waited, there maybe could have been more. But yeah, it was sophomore year, and that was kind of like average, or even like a little bit late for my era.
Especially for big Power 5 schools, they're recruiting people right back then, right out of middle school and going into high school. When you were going through that, what were some of the things that you were thinking of that you wanted out of a program? Like, what were you looking for? What were some of the things that you were kind of aspiring to be as a softball player back in those early days?
Right. I wanted to compete for a national championship, and I wanted a school that was going to give me a good education, and I wanted to play in the Pac-12. I knew that, and I had a couple Pac-12 schools interested in me at the time. And the year that I committed to UW was 2010, which is the year after they won the national championship. So I saw it right in front of my face, like this program just did it. They can do it. I loved the campus, the coaches, the staff, the support, the education, like everything made sense. The distance away from home. So it felt like the perfect fit for me. So those are all the things I was looking for, because I think it is important, and something maybe I wish I would have done a little better too, is like thinking about more of the education and life after softball as well. Like luckily I've been able to continue my career, but that's not always the case for everyone. But yeah, I really am highly competitive, and I wanted to be a part of a program that could, get a shot at a national championship.
We all know there's a big gap between high school level softball and the next level in college. What was your kind of welcome to college softball moment where you quickly realized when you stepped on campus that this is different? This is going to be a lot different.
Yes. Okay. First of all, I come from like a smaller town, like it's called Orangeville, California. No one really knows what that is. And there's just like horses and farms around. And then you go to this big city where there's just like everything and anything at your fingertips. A lot of people, a lot of different culture. I was pretty like sheltered as a kid. So I was very wide-eyed, and just, it was pretty overwhelming. And then you add the softball on top of that and everything. And, I love my experience. But you kind of feel freshman year like a hamster on a hamster wheel. Just, we're doing it. We just got to keep trekking. And so that's kind of how it was. And I was laughing because I thought you were saying like, welcome to, college in terms of playing on the field. Oh, I got welcome, like striking out every single time against Dallas Escobedo. Like I had never seen a rise ball like that. Just like, you learn through experience. I learned, and I was able to adapt and beat her, or, beat pitchers like her in the future. But being welcomed on the field too, by like the difference in pitching is such a jump. And that was a huge thing I needed to grow in as well.
There also has to be a big mental step between, you're in high school, you can kind of dominate your little pond, and then all of a sudden you go into college and they start to pick apart your swing and they start to, use the technology to say, hey, you're doing, you got to fix this and this and this. And what was it like to kind of go into that and be, not the big fish in the small pond anymore?
Yeah, I set the expectation for that kind of going. I was like, I know that nothing's handed to me. I need to earn the right to, be able to compete at this level. I've proven nothing. So I kind of went in with like a very underdog mindset, and that's like kind of my personality anyways. So I was okay with that. And I just remember I'm not going to go down like watching the ball, I'm gonna go down swinging. So I remember oftentimes swinging and missing and just like going for it. And like I said, learning through experience, like I started to recognize patterns, like, okay, the pitchers are realizing like I'm weak on this pitch and they keep throwing me that, like I'm going to work on that outside of the games and get better at that. So when I show up next time, like when they show that pitch, like I'm going to be able to hit it now. And so it's really just adapting and having that mindset of being willing to grow and taking a challenge head on. And I think I remember Coach Tar saying like what she liked about me is that I would just go for it. Like I would swing the bat, and even if I swung and missed, like I was going for it. And so there was a lot of swing and misses at the start, but I wouldn't be, hitting home runs later if I didn't swing and miss at first. So
you talked about, starting in such a small town, a small community, and then you go to Washington. Not only is it a big city, but it's also a big program. You have a lot of media coverage. You're on TV all the time. What was that like for you to kind of be exposed to the big world of softball and the bright lights and all that stuff that comes with being, a Pac-12 softball player?
Yeah, I've never really been someone who likes the limelight or, thrives in that kind of scenario. So when those opportunities did come up, I would just, keep it short and sweet, try my best to just represent the program well. I think that was my goal. And so, yeah, there's a lot of it. I think you start to get used to it. And I know that a lot of it from the outside can seem very like, wow, they're on TV all the time. They're on social media all the time. There's so much cameras on them. I think it just becomes a part of the culture that, you're kind of in, and you kind of get used to it. And you don't, like I was talking about the World Series. For me, at least, like there's so many cool things that come along with it. But when you're playing the game, you don't realize really you're on TV. That's how I feel. But when you're watching from the outside, it's like there's people talking about you and there's the cameras straight on your face, but like you're just so intense and in the middle of the game. So I think like the way I handled that is just to compete and just make sure I focus on playing. And then when those things come up and those interviews come up, just talk about the game.
I'm sure on that stage you made your community, your hometown extremely proud. I'm sure there were a lot of people that were in your corner that were from your community, whether they were maybe softball players that played against you in high school or softball players that played with you in high school. What was it like to kind of be a quote unquote hometown hero and to be able to represent your community at the big stage and to be able to show people from your community that a softball player from here can make it big and can go to Washington and go and play in the World Series and things like that?
Yeah, that means a lot to me, like especially now, just that I can be that inspiration for others, because I think people dream about it and, it takes a lot of hard work to get there. And so, I think too, going through the travel ball scene and having games every weekend and going through the grind of that, some people that went to my high school or went to my middle school maybe didn't understand, but they're like, she's always playing softball. And you don't really see it pay off. And then I think, full circle, I'm playing at Washington or playing the Olympics. And they're like, oh, that's why she was at the softball field all the time. But like, look at what she gets to do now. And honestly, I have my parents to thank just to keep me on track for that and things like that. But yeah, I think it just, like you said, proves that if you work hard at something and want to achieve something, you can do it. And so I'm so glad. And when I went to the Olympics, especially, they had like my whole, where I played rec ball and like the community where I come from, they all like supported me and just were shouting me out, just everything. And it's really cool to come from a place like that and see the support that they support me with all the way through. And then when I came back, there were so many girls that were like, I want to do that too. Or like, they wanted to meet me because now they see someone that they can, go after, something that they can go after just like I did.
While you were going through your career and all these big stages that you get to play on, did you ever miss the simplicity of maybe the high school age softball or the just being able to play on a community field? Did you ever kind of miss that? Or was there anything about it that you missed, I should say?
I think so. Something I've been thinking about lately is like once you get to a really high level of sport, I think there's a lot of pressure, a lot of critique. It just gets very intense. And I think sometimes you can lose the joy of it because you're trying to be excellent at something. And I think what I've learned recently and what you do growing up is you're playing because you have fun. You're playing because you're out there with your friends and you love to just be free and play. And so I think that's something that I hope, or I tried to keep. And I hope like other players, as they get to the top of their level, that they can keep smiling, they can keep having fun. They can realize it's just a game as much as it's something you're trying to be really good at. And so that balance is something that is huge to maintain.
I'm sure you've answered the question about the Olympics 1,000 times in 1,000 different interviews, but you get to be a part of a team that brings Olympics back to the dream. It was gone out of the Olympics for a long time. You're one of the teams that brings it back and get to fulfill a dream that I'm sure softball fans have had for a long time, which is watching and playing softball in the Olympics. What was that like for you to be able to be a part of that kind of moment in softball history?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, the drought of 2008 to 2016 is when we found out it was going to be in the Olympics. I mean, incredible timing. I ended up in that era, and it's really cool that they voted it back in the Olympics. I think it should be in the Olympics every year. I don't understand, but yeah, I want to support and do what I can to represent that well, and then, keep softball in the Olympics as best as possible. So I know it's back in for 2028, I believe, for sure. So that's exciting. I think it's just important to have girls can have dreams beyond just college softball. So I know that's being worked out, and it's really cool to be a part of.
When you think about, all the places that you've been, and now you can, like you said, you can come back to your community and help out the girls that were where you were, back in the good old days. What's the biggest thing that you like about going back and helping the youth advocacy of the sport and the people that are trying to get to where you've already gotten?
I think I am doing that a lot right now. So I moved to San Diego. I'm from Sacramento, but moved to San Diego, and I've been doing that a lot, just like clinics. And I love to share my faith. That's something I'm really passionate about with the younger generation. So I run little practices for an hour, and then I'll do a little devotional prayer with them. And that's something I really like to give back and see in them is their interest in that and their willingness to pursue the Lord as well. And honestly, just serving, because I think you get to such a high level where you're being served, you're put on a pedestal, and everybody's kind of trying to cater to you because they want you to succeed and things like that. And I just realized, like, man, like I want to be, I'm ready to give back. And like, I want to go back down to, this 12U level and work with these girls and now give them everything I've learned so that they can hopefully achieve what they want to achieve. And so I think just in general, like serving and whatever they need, whatever questions they have, I just love being a resource to be able to, one, help them enjoy the game, and two, help them get better at softball.
You gave me a perfect segue, because I do want to ask you about Church in the Dirt and what it's like to be a part of that movement and to be able to, like you said, instill faith and your faith into the kids that you train and to show them that it's so much more than just softball out there. What's that been to you? And I know you were joined by other Team USA teammates that you've had, and having this organization, Church in the Dirt, and being able to do all the things that you're able to do with it. What's that mean to you?
It means a lot, because when I was on Team USA and just any team I was on, we had a group of about 4 or 5 of us that, and even more, like, that would come together, and we had that community on the team to be able to pray for each other. Like, we were praying for each other before at bats, like laying hands on each other. We'd have Bible studies like weekly. We have, chapels before games. It was a culture that we created on the team, and something that really impacted me and was able to grow my faith a lot, and something I wanted to give to the team. And we saw other girls just saved on our team. And the game before the Olympics, our first game, we were all in the hotel hallways, and one of my teammates brought her guitar out. We were singing worship songs, and we all prayed before our first game at the Olympics. And those are the moments that I truly remember and cherish. And something that we clung to is just the gold medals are going to fade, the silver medals are going to fade, the win games, the hits, but the thing that lasts is eternity and faith and life with Jesus. And so when we really looked at that in the grand scheme of things, it was like, okay, this is what really matters. This is the message. Your life is sending a message. What message do you want to send? Like, one that lasts, or one that might fade away? And so anyways, that's kind of where the perspective has come from. It's like, I want to teach these girls to get better at softball, absolutely, but I feel like I want to also do them a service of not just showing them like softball is the end all be all, like your relationship with the Lord, eternity, the things that last is what's going to satisfy. And so I just want to be a resource to give that to them if people want to. I never want to like force it or anything, but it's been really cool. There's different communities around San Diego that we've kind of started doing that with, and it's really awesome.
Was there ever a moment in your career where you felt like, if I didn't have my faith, I might not have gotten past this roadblock, whether it be maybe a mental block on the field, maybe you were going through something off the field that was affecting your game? Was there ever a moment where you felt like, man, if I didn't have the faith that I do, I might not have kept going?
Yeah, I can think of many, many times. I think of when I was 16 is actually when I gave my life to the Lord, and I had torn my PCL. So I was out of softball. I didn't have softball any longer. I was in a relationship with a guy that we broke up. So I felt like I was in search for love, like just my identity was gone. And that's actually one moment where I didn't really know the Lord fully, but a friend introduced me, and I gave my life to the Lord. And that was like the starting point of like, wow, this is the one thing that doesn't change. I might get hurt. I might not perform well in a game. I might lose a relationship, but I know I have the Lord, and I want to give my life to this. And, you have a steady peace and hope throughout your whole life because of it. And I also think about another time in college. I had many times where I think there was one time I was 0 for 16. That's insane. Like, I had a couple walks in there, but it was like, I don't know what was going on. And I think you start to define yourself by your performance. And I remember just journaling, like laying out at the field one off day. I'm not going to do extra work. I'm just going to chill, and I'm going to, take time with the Lord. And I would just journal. And I think it would always bring me back to a grounded place of like, Allie, this is who you are. You aren't your performance. I have a plan for your life, and I know it feels rocky right now, but this is part of the process. And I was able to surrender instead of, I think I could have easily spiraled and just kept going, and it can go down a bad trap. So that was definitely another moment, but I would not, and then the last thing I will say is like the trials for the Olympics, we had a trial every year for the USA team. That's a lot of pressure. And I can tell you 100%, I would not be able to like walk on that field confidently, interact with people kindly that I'm competing against for this position on this team, and just be confident and be free if I didn't have a relationship with the Lord, because I'm not seeking any validation. I have everything in Christ, and now I just can walk out there and I can give and I can pour out. I don't need anything to fill me up. And so it's given me the utmost like confidence as well in that.
One of the big pushes right now in youth softball and these kids that are working so hard at maybe the 12 to 16 age range is trying to get them to understand that they have identities outside of softball. You know, you're not just a softball player. How much easier did that faith make that to accept for you, that you do have things outside of softball, that softball does not define you? Like you said earlier, you're not defined by your results, but you're also not defined by just the sport. And the fact that you are a softball player doesn't mean that that's all you are.
Yes. Yeah. I think who we are is separate from what we do. And I think even just being at the highest level, a lot of people, the first thing they ask you is like, what do you do? And then they define you by that. Or they ask me like, how's softball? You know, I've been asked that since I've been, 10 years old, and it gets old. And then you start to think that that's your identity because people are constantly asking you questions about what you do versus taking genuine interest in who you are. How's your soul? How are you doing? What are you enjoying? Letting that person define who they are versus kind of placing it. And I do it too. You start to see what that person's done, and then you make a conversation out of it. So I think it's huge. And another thing just I've learned and what I would want to pass on is to allow kids to have other interests. Like you play 3 games, whatever the travel ball situation is in a day, go have an acai bowl, go longboard on the beach. Like you're not going to hurt yourself, or you're not working hard because you're having fun. Like go have fun, go swim in the ocean, go do other things you enjoy, because I think it's about balance. And when it becomes imbalance, where it's softball is your identity and everything, it starts to take a toll on you. And so obviously I think you can do all kinds of fun activities and create that balance as well. But at the end of the day, I think my belief is relationship with the Lord is the only thing that can truly settle your soul. And it's because God created us and he knows, what we need. And so absolutely coming back to that place has been a game changer for me.
I want to give you one last chance for a little knowledge nugget before we let you go. Because we have a lot of players that are kind of getting ready to go into the college campus, step onto these big colleges and compete at the next level. What was something that after you went through your college career that you wish you knew before you stepped on campus, that you knew obviously after you did, that you wish you kind of understood before you even started? What are some things that fall into that category?
I learned so much in college. I'm like so grateful for it. But I always tell people just know who you are and like bring yourself to the program that you're going in. Like I think it's easy to adapt and mold and change, and that's all good because you need to learn and grow. But I think you bring a lot to that program too, and your individual character, your individual skills, different things can provide a lot for that program. So I would say just be who you are constantly. Don't feel like you have to fit a mold or anything like that. And it goes by really, 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 really fast. And so also just, I know the workouts and the practices and the games are going to feel like, oh, this is so much. But it's only 4 years and it goes by really fast. And I hope that you all, whoever's going into college, can look back on those 4 years and say, like, I left it all out on the field. I left it all out in the classroom. I left it all out in the relationships that I invested in. Like, just go all in, because there is nothing like a college environment experience. And I would have wanted to know, like, it's going to be hard. Absolutely. And you're going to not want to show up sometimes. You're not going to want to wake up and go to practice, but it's worth it, and give it all you have, because it's only 4 years.
With every player we interview, no matter what level they're on, we end the interviews with giving them the chance to take the limelight off themselves for a minute and shine it on the people that got them to where they are. And I'm sure your village is really big, and the people that got you to where you are, the list is long. But I want to give you the chance to kind of give out your thanks and shout outs to people that you think you wouldn't be where you are without. We're not the Oscars. We're not going to cut you off. So as many thank yous and shout outs as you want to give.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. I mean, first, I would say my parents who just invested so much time to take me to my games and, and stuff growing up and support me throughout college and pro. And I think it just means a lot, especially my dad. Like, he invested a lot in order to get me to where I'm at, and he just never really let me settle. And so him, and then all of my travel ball coaches, I was only on 3 different travel ball teams. I know now people go to many different travel ball teams, but each coach, and even in rec ball, like, made me who I am and challenged me in different ways. And then obviously Coach Tar and the staff at Washington, they were a huge part of just my development. Like, at the youth level, I think you can only get so high, but the competition and the environment that coaches create in college is huge too. So that was really awesome. And then, I would just say teammates that I've played with all across the board have made me better. And the last thing I'll say is obviously God. Like, I started my softball journey without a relationship with the Lord. And in high school is when I really decided I'm going to give my life to the Lord and I'm going to do this. And I think he had a plan all along with it, even though I committed before I was a Christian and all these things. I just see the way he pieced things together to allow me to even get to the stage that I got to. And so I just want to, give all the glory back to him too. And hopefully I can serve the community now in a way that honors him as well. So. Yeah.
Allie, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us and talk to us about your journey and helping the youth of the sport learn from what you've been able to go through. We appreciate your time again. We wish you the best of luck in everything you're doing in the future. And we can't wait to talk to you again real soon. Hopefully it is not long before we talk to you again.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
That was Allie Aguilar. Like I said before the interview, Washington softball alum, played in the World Series in college, played in the Olympics as a member of Team USA, played in pro softball leagues here in the country. What a great conversation that was. And we look to continue that series throughout the summer. We thank everyone for their time that is giving it to us. And thank you for tuning in today to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 with another Living the Dream. Who we going to get? You gotta stay tuned to social media to see who will be on the show on Tuesday. But until then, we'll see you. Have a great night, everybody. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in.